Hi, boys and girls. It's Mrs. Burnfield here. I'm back to do the vocabulary read aloud for this week. Before I begin the read aloud, I just want to do a tiny little review with you. This week, when you are reading, you're going to be thinking about the point of view that the passage is told from. And I hope that you remember at different times throughout the course of the year, we talked about primary and secondary sources. This read aloud mentions first-person accounts. I just want to point out to you that a first-person account is a primary source, which means that the author was there, was a witness to something that they wrote about. In this case, it happens to be a journal. And when we get down here to these italicized words, these are actually words or texts that are lifted from the author's journal. Okay, here we go. Tales of the Trail. Histories of the Oregon Trail summarize details such as who traveled west and how they fared, but first-person accounts bring tales of the trail to life. Through detailed journals written by actual travelers, we can experience each mishap and relive every adventure. Sarah Bird Springer was only 10 years old when she journeyed from Ohio to Oregon with her family. Years later, she wrote about her travels. The account begins by describing why Oregon became a bright beacon drawing them west. In 1850, my brother Abraham and his friend, James Bingham, who was engaged to my sister Abby, decided to go west after having heard stories of praise for the new country. Father and mother, in turn, received such glowing accounts from Abraham that they decided to go to Oregon in the spring. And on the first day of April, 1852, we were ready to start. Question number 1 is a main idea question. The question is, why did Sarah Bird Springer's family move to Oregon? Remember, you should think of an answer and then speak it out loud. Your answer should be something like, Sarah's family decided to go to Oregon for a better life after they got word from their older son that things there were wonderful. They were in search of a better life. Let's read on. The first leg of the journey took the Springers to the Ohio River. There they loaded everything onto a side-wheel steamer. Suddenly, the captain barged through the crowd of passengers, yelling a warning. Sarah writes, he told us that a short time before, a boat going up the river had blown up and many people had been killed because they had all run to one side to see the town. It seems that in those double boiler steamboats, if there is too much weight on one side, the water all runs in the boiler on that side, and when it goes back to the other one again, that boiler explodes. Quaking in their shoes, the passengers balked at leaning over the rails. Sarah writes, what Sarah remembers most was the sight of the boat that had exploded, all because the passengers had surged to one side. Question number 2. This is a compare and contrast question. How did the behavior of the passengers in Sarah's boat differ from that of the passengers in the boat that exploded? What was different about their actions? Think about that and then answer out loud. Your answer should be something like, the passengers on Sarah's boat stayed in one place instead of running to one side. Let's read on. When the Springers arrived in St. Joe, Missouri, they spent 6 weeks gathering supplies. In May, they took the ferry across the Missouri River. A dream about this journey had come to torment Sarah's father 3 nights in a row. He heard the oxen rustling below. Then they would panic and run side to side until the boat sank. But the ferrymen refused to take the oxen across on a separate ship. This, he lectured, would put his schedule at a disadvantage, and so Sarah writes her father's fears came to pass. The oxen ran to one side and the boat began to fill with water until just a tiny bit of the wagon cover was above the water. The oxen swam off. The boatman held my baby brother above the water, father and mother up on a wheel of the wagon, while my sister Abby and brother Jacob kept Nicholas and me from drowning by holding on to us and to the wagon. Let's think about that. Question number 3. Point of view. How does Sarah's point of view influence her description of the disaster? Remember, point of view is the way she sees it. Your answer should be something like, Sarah's description gives us a vivid picture of her family and it conveys her anxiety as well as theirs. We could vividly imagine what they looked like trying to survive, and we could feel her fear. Let's finish up. Though Sarah's 2 oldest brothers finally saved everyone with another boat, a good friend drowned trying to help. This is just one part of Sarah's story. Her words put us right with her on the Oregon Trail. Last question, question 4. This is an interpreting tone. Remember, tone is how the story feels. How do the excerpts from Sarah's account of her travel affect the tone of the text? Sarah's experiences bring life for the reader. The tone is less formal. She writes in a less formal way so that we can really imagine what it was like to be there. Before we go, let's quickly look over all of the words. Remember, I will say it and then you repeat. This is good practice. Fared, mishap, beacon, quaking, balked, surged, torment, rustling, lectured, disadvantage. Great job today. Look for these words in the passages that you are going to read. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.